What is the reason people say don't repair your car if the invoice is more than the value of the car? I have no idea what you mean when you say a car is worth X, but you can't buy an equivalent car for X. That's usually what people mean when they say worth. I just faced this situation. I had to change a timing belt for a couple thousand, which was potentially more than the car was worth. If I'd spent the couple thousand buying a new car, I'd have gotten a piece of junk with its own problems. I opted to fix the timing belt. The car could run for another 150,000 miles easily. It's an old bit of wisdom. The idea being that a car worth less than the value of the repair isn't worth repairing. I don't think it really holds true for many modern cars, in part because repairs have gotten more expensive, but also because cars can now last 200,000 miles when in the old days getting 85,000 was considered good. Cars were, honestly, not as well constructed, but also easier to repair. Back then it was common for people to fix their own cars in their driveway. Now the cars are built specifically to require expensive specialized tools on purpose. Dealerships learned that they make more money off repairs than they do off sales. Tool manufacturers make deals with the car companies to introduce new tools from time to time, etc. And well, here we are now. I'm not sure if there's a tidbit of wisdom to replace that old adage now. Your car is worth 2,000. You can't buy a replacement used car for 4,000. Unless your car is literally the only 2,000 car on the planet, these two statements are inconsistent with one another. You got the only 2,000 car in the world? My standard was if the repairs start costing more than the payments on a new car, then it's time to get a new car. So if you are averaging 500 a month in repairs and a new car payment would be 400, get the new car. But if you are only spending 2,000 a year in repairs, you're still coming out ahead by keeping your current car. The devil you know is better than the devil you don't. It really is a personal choice. I figure a car payment is 500 a month. Every month I am driving my old car and no car payment. I'm saving 6,000 a year. I keep investing in repairs as needed and will see how many more years I can drive the old car. You obviously can get a car for 4K. You state that your car is worth 2K before it breaks? So yeah, I would be able to get a car twice as nice as what you already have. Or you could spend 4K to get a 2K car. You're unlikely to find another car at 4K that isn't also going to need some amount of work soon. I think the better analysis is if putting 4K into a paid-off car is going to get you 4K worth of usage for you. Whatever that means to you. For example, my dad has an over 30-year-old F-150 he bought for like 600 the scrap metal rate, then put maybe 2,200 in to make it comfortably usable for various hauling and other garage farm tasks. Couldn't be sold for 2,800 in its condition, only qualifies for farm use, or antique plates would not be able to pass state safety inspection, but totally worth 2,800 in use value. It's a horrible investment from resale perspective, but a cost-effective solution for hauling stuff to the dump vs hiring someone at 100-200 a time. So if 4K is going to get you 4K use value, it's not such a bad thing. If 4K is going to get you in a loop of dropping another 1K or 2K every couple months, you're probably better jumping ship. If the repair place is telling you it's not worth it, they probably have reasons to anticipate additional problems on your horizon. I've been through this. In the end, I think of it as repairing the car is in essence buying a used car that I know the history of. At a certain point your car is going to become more and more of a money sink. If you're paying 4K to repair a 2K car, then your car is probably worn out and you're going to have to keep paying these bigger bills to keep it going. You definitely can buy a used car for less than 4K, it may not be one you want, but you definitely can. Regarding your original point, it just makes no sense to spend double the value of your car just to make it work again. Well, your insurance wouldn't pay for it is probably the main thing. This is a fair point, honestly. Many people cite reliability for their reason they buy new, but some new cars have severe issues after a year or two. I just sold my 98 Jeep Cherokee last year, and I had it from 150,000 to 190K. I had a lot of problems with it, but none were very major. Water pump went out and was 20-something from O'Reilly. I changed it out in my dorm's parking lot as college freshman. The throttle position sensor bit the bullet, 50 and 15 min to change. Radiator was probably biggest and I took it to the shop for 800. Wouldn't start one day. Turned out to be the camshaft position sensor, which was under the distributor cap held on by 2 Phillips screws. Took me 5 min and 30. Finally I sold it in favor of something bigger to my buddy who bought it not running for 500. I told him the alternator was dead. He put a new alt and battery in it and it's still running. Anyways, my point is, I still kind of regret selling it. After taking care of it and knowing what I had done to it, I easily would have spent a couple grand on it. Sure, it's a gamble, but much less of one to me than buying another somewhat affordable car that I know nothing about. This isn't exactly what you're asking, but I mention this whenever it comes up, and it's worth keeping in mind since this does seem relevant to your situation. A car over 8 years old costs more to own than a new car. My last job was an analyst for fleet services. It was my job to track all the data points on tens of thousands of vehicles. Now this concept is generally accepted in the field, but a lot of times people won't believe it, so one of my projects was to crunch the numbers on all costs and prepare reports, maintenance, repair, fuel, loan payments, etc. associated with all the vehicles and find where the nexus of costs were. Sure enough, at about 7.5 years it becomes more expensive to keep an old car even if it's paid off than to purchase a new car. Now everyone loves to chime in about how they had a car for 20 years that didn't have any maintenance issues. Congratulations! You were the exception, not the rule. Not only is this something that all the old-time industry professionals know, I've actually run the numbers and proved the theory. I'm happy to talk more about this to anyone interested, but I really don't care if you have been able to beat the odds. I think this is dated advice that keeps being passed down from boomers, haha. The car market was never this insane, and those rules don't apply anymore. You're right, and it's up to you to make the personal choice based on your finances, the cars involved, etc. I guess it kind of depends the details of the car, and also on if you can afford a car payment or not. If you can afford a car payment, that $4,000 could be better used as a down payment on a newer car. That's what happened to me. Had a 20-year-old car with around $2,000 of repairs to make it drivable again. It was at the point where I was spending up to $1.5K a year in repairs to keep her going, and she was at 200K miles. Instead, I put $2,000 down on an 8-year-old car with 100K miles and have a couple years of car payments. You can buy a replacement used car for $2,000 by your own admission. The car will be worth more than $2,000 after the repairs, and you can find a cheap used car for that. A few years ago I had a transmission blow out on my car. Before the transmission blew, the car was worth about $2,500, meaning I could probably have sold it for $2,500. A trainee would cost me $2,500. It didn't make sense to me to spend $2,500 to make my car worth $2,500. I limped the car to a dealer, who supposedly gave me $1,000 for it in trade on a newer car.